One big question that we all have in mind that has the power to turn this housing market around relatively fast is, when are we going to see more inventory? When are more sellers going to come online and start selling their houses? Well, since 2021, Open Door has been doing a survey of 4,000 prospective home sellers, and for the first time since they started doing this, in December of 2023, they saw a substantial jump in the amount of people that are looking to possibly sell their house in the next 12 months, and it went up by 18% actually. And you know, one of the reasons that we saw the home prices and the homes fly off the market during the pandemic wasn't just because home prices were cheap and we had low interest rates, but the third factor was all the pent-up demand. People that wanted to buy houses, and that was their opportunity to get in, right? Well, now the same thing is starting to happen on the selling side. We're starting to see a lot of pent-up demand. You know, you see a lot of people that have basically been stuck in their house because of the golden handcuff situation, where their interest rate is just too low and they can't justify moving up to double their payment essentially, or they can't afford to. Or you're seeing people that have put off life events and life changes, maybe retirement, maybe moving to a place they always wanted to live, and they've been waiting to do that because they were waiting for conditions to improve. But since they're not, people are starting to get more and more impatient, and that is most likely the reason why this home seller sentiment is starting to tick up and people are starting to consider listing their homes for sale. So if any of this ends up coming true, this spring and summer could end up being one of the biggest home selling seasons that we have seen in years, probably since before the pandemic. Now, whether that's going to come true, I don't know, guys. This is just based on survey data, and there's no way to know for sure how much that's going to impact the actual amount of inventory we're going to see. But one thing we do know is that people don't put their lives on hold forever, okay? There are life events and life changes that happen to people that push them to sell, whether the conditions are ideal or not. And it seems like a lot of that is continuing to build as the market has remained frozen. Now, obviously, a lot of people say interest rates are at the heart of all of this, right? If interest rates come down substantially, that'll get more buyers and sellers back into the market. But the thing is, we shouldn't be expecting lower interest rates anytime soon, guys. In fact, as more time goes by and we get deeper and deeper into 2024, the likelihoods of rate cuts in this year from the Fed are becoming less and less prevalent, especially if the economy is so robust like they say it is. There's not going to be a reason or incentive for them to cut rates in that environment, other than the fact that the government has a crippling amount of debt and we're adding like an extra $1 trillion to the deficit every 100 days, but never mind that. According to a Harris poll from homebuyers, 50% of people say that an interest rate of 6.5% would prompt them to look to buy a home. However, I don't believe that, because we actually saw interest rates around 6.5% just about a month ago, and we didn't see the amount of people jumping back into the market go up substantially. So I really don't think that interest rates at 6.5% is going to do much for many people. That's still way too unaffordable at these prices. That's the reality. One thing that I've never thought about before that this story mentions is one thing that could prompt more people to sell is this massive wave of new construction that we have been seeing, because the idea here is that, you know, some people might say, well, I'm tired of this old house, it's 20 years old or whatever, I want a brand new house, just like people do with cars. And that could prompt a lot of these people to sell their old house to buy a new house, especially when the deals that the home builders are giving are so favorable right now. They're offering basically the best price incentives, they're offering the best interest rates, they're offering, you know, upgrades to the house. They're offering everything that traditional home sellers are not, and it could be enough to prompt people that want to move into one of those houses and sell their house. And not to mention the fact that the price of brand new houses have dropped substantially, guys. Since the peak of the market back in 2022, the price of a brand new house has dropped 18% from then until now. So that's even more of an incentive for somebody that has their eye on a brand new house to go out and get one and sell their current home. And then we of course cannot forget about the silver tsunami. I made a whole video about this last week about baby boomers and really anybody over the age of 50 right now. We have 80% of the adult population in the United States is over the age of 50 right now. And you're seeing thousands of people retire by the day right now. And that could mean a lot of different things. You know, I read a bunch of the comments in that video, and a lot of people said, well, I'm staying put, I'm going to be in my house for a long time until I die or whatever. And other people were saying, you know, a few more years in this house and I'm going to be selling it, I'm moving out, or I'm going to be passing it down to my grandchildren, or, you know, my niece or whatever. But it's really too soon to tell how much of an impact that's going to have. But like I showed in that video, guys, we're poised to see an additional 9 million houses hit the market for sale between now and 2030. That's a massive amount of inventory that just comes in addition to the regular inventory that we're going to see from just normal home buying and selling activity. I personally, I'm not sure this year is really going to turn out to be the year that we've been hoping for, especially since it's an election year. It seems like people are more cautious on making big moves with finances, or, you know, moving from house to house on election years. It just seems to be that's the way it is. So I would expect this year could be another dull year for the housing market, where we just don't see much in the way of appreciation or prices falling substantially in many areas, unless, you know, some areas just see massive increases in inventory. But I also want to debunk the myth that prices are not coming down, guys, because a lot of people say, oh, you know, this guy's full of it because prices aren't coming down where I live. Well, prices are coming down in a lot of different places. It might not be where you live, but there are a lot of places where prices are coming down, guys. Check out this chart. I can't read everything here for you, but I will scroll it down for you. You can take a look at it. Pause the video, rewind, whatever you want to do. Since the peak of the housing market back in the middle of 2022, you have markets across the country that have fallen pretty substantially. Austin, Texas is the most notable one at 14.5%. Okay, then you have Idaho Falls, Boise, Idaho. So the very overheated Idaho markets basically are the kings of this list. You have Coeur d'Alene up there as well. You have places in Colorado and Washington and California. You got a lot of California cities on this list. You know, you got Redding, California, you got Merced, you got San Francisco, Berkeley, Sacramento. You have Bellingham, Washington, the Villages, Florida, Vallejo, California, Boulder, Colorado, Cheyenne, Wyoming, Provo, Utah. Even Las Vegas is on this list. So I think that the real problem is if people live in an area where they haven't seen prices come down personally, they automatically think that whatever I'm saying here is not true. It's just not true for you, but it's true for all those cities that I just showed, first of all. Now here's another argument for why prices may continue to fall in the future, guys, and it's because of affordability. When you take a look at this chart here, this is the Housing Affordability Index, and as you can see, it has not been as low as it is right now since the 1980s. So you're talking about homes not being this unaffordable for the past 40 years. In order to just buy the average home today in America, you need to earn about $106,000 a year. And just 4 years ago, before the pandemic, you only needed to make $59,000 a year to afford the average home, okay? So that's a $47,000 increase, or 80% in income that you need in just 4 years to buy the typical house today. Here's the problem. The wages during that time have only gone up 23%. So let's do the math. You need 80% more income, but you're only making 23% more income, which equals I can't afford it. And this also just goes to show you how good we had it before the pandemic, because the median household income was 27% above the income needed to afford a home just 4 years ago. And now we've done a complete reversal where the median household income is 41% below the income needed to afford a home. And I have a full chart to share with you guys on different cities throughout the country that just goes to show you the unaffordability gap right now, okay? Take a look at this chart here. This shows you different cities throughout the country, what you need to buy a home versus what people actually make, okay? I mean, it is staggering. Obviously, the most expensive cities are all in California at the top. You have San Jose, San Francisco. I mean, look at that. In San Francisco, guys, the average household brings in $220,000 a year, but you really need to make $339,000 a year to afford the average home. And those are just insane numbers, right? Seattle, Washington, okay? People earn $120,000 a year, you need to make $213,000 a year. What about here in Miami? People make $76,000 a year, you need to make $151,000 a year. So people literally need to make double in Miami what they're currently making in order to just buy your typical home. How does that last? Well, one way we've gone over how it might last is government free money. If you guys saw my last video, I talked to you about all the new stimulus programs that are coming to the Florida housing market that might bolster the market even longer and continue to allow people that really can't afford to buy homes to go out there and buy them. All the way at the bottom of this list, in traditionally affordable cities, guys, like Detroit, Michigan, you know, kind of a terrible place to live for the most part, right? People make $44,000 a year. You need to make $75,000 a year in Detroit. So now you even need to make a lot more money just to live in Detroit, guys. I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but fraud is running rampant in today's society. In fact, according to the most recent FTC report, in 2023, there was 5.39 million reports of some sort of fraud. And two of the biggest types of fraud are identity theft and email scams. And you know how identities are stolen and email fraud goes on? It's because too much of your personal information is out there on the internet, which is why I have partnered with Delete Me, because over at Delete Me, their privacy experts will remove your personal data from hundreds, if not thousands, of different data brokers across the world. In fact, according to my own personal report, so far, I have had my own personal information removed from about 66 different data broker websites, and there's about 80 of them out there total. So that's pretty good. And they run these searches and reports every single quarter, and my next one is due in a couple of weeks from now, and I'm hoping that even more of my information was removed from the internet after this. If you want to keep your information private and safe, make sure you join Delete Me today using my link down below at joindeleteme.com/board-and-arrow. Check out the old Camaro. Roaring to life. It's trying. And you know what? Commercial real estate has seen its fair share of being hit right now when it comes to the valuations just sinking through the floor. But people who own commercial real estate are not just getting hit with price declines on that real estate, but they're also getting hit with expenses rising exponentially, guys, just like people who own residential real estate, but worse. Check this out. One of my subscribers, John, sent me this story about one of his clients. He's a real estate agent up in New Jersey, and they own a commercial apartment complex up there. Up until recently, the annual insurance bill for the property has been $8,000 a year. Well, fast forward to today, the renewal bill just came in, and now it's going to be $30,000 per year. So immediately, his client shopped around, tried to find a better deal, and he was told by all the insurance companies that he called that this is just going to be the new going rate for buildings like this. So now he's going to be forced to pay it. $30,000, guys. So you're talking the amount basically quadrupled overnight for this guy's insurance bill. What do you think is going to have to happen to the rent prices that he's charging over there to make up for it? You see where this goes? Now, I understand when I see this on why the government thinks it's a good idea to give everybody free money to continue paying these bills, because it almost seems like it's the only way at this point because of the expenses. They just keep rising, right? But they don't know, or they don't care, that it's just going to continue making these expenses even higher. And it's just going to exacerbate the problem and make it even worse. So, you know, sometimes people ask me, oh, Michael, you talk about all these problems, but you never talk about the solutions. Like, listen, first of all, I don't know what the solutions are to a lot of these problems. And these are really big problems that most of us couldn't solve, okay? But I think the answer to solving a lot of these problems, they would just kind of take care of themselves eventually, is if they just stopped all these stimulus programs, you know? No more giving people free money to buy houses anywhere. No more paying people's rents. No more welfare. No more universal basic income. No more any of these things. And that would kind of sort itself out. Would there be a lot of pain in the meantime? Yes. You know, the problem is none of the politicians want to put this country through the necessary pain that it needs to go through to reverse all of this. So that's my answer to a lot of these problems, guys, is just to let it all crash and burn. I know it sucks, but this is going to be the only way to move forward. Look at that. We got little doggies trying to jump the fence here. I know it's probably not the answer that most people want to hear, but I think it's really the only true path forward. You know, like People want my answer. That's my answer. I think this would solve 80 to 90% of the problems that we face today when it comes to affordability with real estate, when it comes to the prices of things starting to come down again. You know, talk about inflation coming down. This would cause deflation because so many people wouldn't be able to afford the price of goods and services that there would be no choice for them to come down or go out of business. You know, that's kind of the reality that we need to face, that nobody wants to force on us. And also, the other reason I kind of stay away from covering solutions to these problems is because just because I come up with something, I might come up with something completely on the fly, guys, and might not really have a chance to think it through, because my aim when I make these videos is not trying to solve all these problems, because even if I came up with a legitimate way to solve all these problems, it wouldn't happen because I'm not in charge of doing it, right? So my goal is to bring attention to these issues and awareness. That's my ultimate goal with these videos, not to solve these problems, because I can't solve them alone. And also, you might not like the solutions I come up with, and people are so divisive these days, especially when it comes to the political side of things. It's just disgusting, to be honest. Like, I think it's terrible. I don't play into politics, guys. I think they're all crooks, and I'm independent, okay? I don't take sides on this. But some people might hate my idea and, you know, think I'm an idiot or not want to watch my channel anymore just because I came up with an idea that doesn't align with their politics. So I'm not going to be the one sitting here coming up with ideas on how to fix it. I'm just going to be the one giving you an idea of the magnitude of all the problems we have. You can discuss amongst yourselves how to fix it, because that's ultimately how things get solved anyways. Whoever thinks that just me sitting here talking about this stuff on YouTube is going to bring the miracle solutions to solving all this is dreaming. I wish it was that easy, but it isn't. Now, I keep telling you guys how insurance is going to be the number one thing that's going to be pricing people out of their homes right now. And I keep telling you that it's not just in Florida. I've had reports, people write me from New Jersey, from Georgia, from South Carolina, from North Carolina, from Louisiana, from Missouri, from Utah, from Arizona, from California. And now my home state of Illinois is having problems with homeowners insurance as well. Allstate and State Farm, they both still write homeowners insurance policies in Illinois, but they just announced that they're going to be raising their insurance rates by double digits this year. That's a big increase. According to Allstate, they're planning on a 12.7% hike this year, and State Farm is increasing theirs by 12.3%, which will take effect by the middle of March. By the middle of May, this is going to be complete for everybody. So if you have State Farm or an Allstate policy in Illinois, expect it to go up by 12% over the next couple of months. That's going to happen. So this means anywhere between an extra $237 per year up to an extra $138 per year. But that's just the average numbers, guys. It can vary widely depending on the value of your property and how much insurance you have. And honestly, Illinois is getting off lucky, because across the country, homeowners insurance has gone up 23% on average since January of 2024. So people like to sit there and complain and say, oh, all this stuff is negative. Well, guess what? Whether it's negative or not, it's happening, okay? You want to sit there and deny it, that's on you. But people are getting these increases, whether we want to face that reality or not. So why is this happening? Well, let's see. They're trying to recoup their losses and adjust the rates accurately for future losses. So that's the reason all insurance companies are raising their rates right now. And even if you've never had a claim, living in the middle of nowhere, Illinois, like I used to live, not a whole lot of natural disasters in the area, other than the occasional tornado, okay? But other than that, usually nothing to make a claim for. It's going up anyhow, because so many other places are seeing claims rise that they need to do this to stay in business and keep the CEOs on their yachts. And on top of that, Allstate's going to be implementing insurance increases on auto insurance in 10 states coming up soon. The CEO of Allstate, he goes, well, we still lost money on auto insurance last year, so it wasn't that we were raising the prices and going to the bank. Well, maybe we should dig into what Tom Wilson's net worth is and how much of a salary he takes home each year from Allstate. I'd be curious to know that, to see if that's actually true or not, because I'd be willing to bet that his salary is sky high compared to the average worker over there at Allstate, and this guy could probably afford to take a pay cut. But of course, that's not going to happen. And once again, my suspicions are correct. Take a look at that. He's like the highest paid CEO in all of insurance at $18.9 million a year in salary as of 2022. You know for sure it's gone up with inflation and all. I have to earn more. And just look at this other list here, guys. Liberty Mutual, $15.4 million for their CEO. Geico, $13.6 million. 12.7 million for Progressive, and that is before bonuses also, by the way. So once again, my suspicion that these guys are way overpaid is confirmed. So you guys want my solution to how to solve this problem? Get rid of these high salaried CEOs. How about that, guys? This guy's probably making tens, if not hundreds of millions of dollars per year as the Allstate CEO. Meanwhile, you know, people in the Midwest have to see their insurance premiums go up by $200-300 a year to make sure that guy can continue getting his salary. To me, that's just completely wrong, okay? This whole thing that we see here in the US with that, you've seen the discrepancy of how much CEOs make compared to average workers at the company. And since the 1970s, it has absolutely exploded. So you want my solution to that? Fire these people. You know, give them a massive pay cut. This guy can take a 90% cut in pay and still live better than 90% of the people in this country. That's how obscene this is. Or how about not having all these companies be publicly traded so that way their sole mission isn't to just continue to increase profits, okay? What about that? Nobody wants to look at these problems. So you see, this is why I stay away from the solutions, because the solutions are things that people don't want to hear that are never really going to happen, unfortunately. And I'm pretty convinced that people don't want the answers to these problems. So I, for one, am not going to be sitting here trying to solve them. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure you subscribe to the channel. And if you don't want to wait for my next video to come out, check out this one on the screen right over here, and I'll see you in the next one.